if you listen to them. Like some of the things you talk about, I just want to say
sure.
it before I pass by it.
Okay.
When we talk about the issue of the people asking for armchairs, right? I mean, probably people expected them to talk about role, to talk about planet, but I think it's important too that if I have my concern, that how the president take it, right? To say, well, what you ask for, I mean, it's not too big, or it doesn't mean you can't ask for it. But those are things that the president have already touched and passed by. You remember some 3 months ago, the president had a tour to to some high schools in Monrovia, and he instructed the Minister of Finance to work along with the Minister of Education to procure 100,000 chairs. Those chairs were not made for Tot Mahal, were not made for Bozeman, but were made for most of the public schools. And this time around, the instruction that was given to the Minister of Finance is that we don't want people buying chairs, armchairs from Monrovia to take it to Sino. I'm from Sino. I don't know where you're from. Maybe from Sino, but not from my district. But if you have to go to Bayan district, for example, you have to go to Butol, you have to go to Kabada and beyond. If you fix chairs from Monrovia, take there. Before they get there, even the transportation costs, maybe you can buy up to 500 chairs there when they are made there. So the instruction was, these chairs for the counties should be bought in the county
To
empower the locals. Because if you are sawing plank in sawmill in Buffalo, the planks are there. It's easier to make it from there than to buy them from where they was bought. So chairs are very important for the school because it provide, right, a conducive atmosphere for learning.
In as much as, don't get me wrong, chairs were important for the schools, and it's good that, like the president promised or said, that
100,000
chairs should be, I'm sure they'll be distributed to other places. But you understand that, you expect that the people will be asking for big things when they have their leader come, like the roads, like, the technical centers. But again, if you have a leadership, like, whether we like it or not, if you were running in a place and a school had a need for 500 chairs or even 1,000 chairs, you were impressed the school because you wanted the votes. But the thing with our leaders is that after they've gotten into power, then they forget the people who put them in power. That's the problem. So the president, I'm sure, did not expect, even though he provided, he said, find anybody who's doing the chairs here. And he was like what you're saying. He said, anybody who can fix the chairs here, because it's an empowerment of the locals. I will pay for the chairs. But then you expect that the other leaders can be doing those small interventions, and then the government can do bigger interventions.
I think
I'm sure that's from that perspective we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. People talk issues. Basically, they show a lot of concerns when they see the president around, or when they feel forgotten, or when they feel that maybe that's the only way will be heard. So I think what we need to do, those of us that work with the president and other agencies, is to make sure some of the pronouncements when they are made, we should make sure those information filter down well. Because I guess I may be wrong. Probably they are not in the know that 100,000 shares have been ordered to be procured, and it's meant for this purpose. I'm sure if they knew, they won't be asking for shares. Okay, and I bet if, like, we had elections next week or 2 weeks from that time, no pronouncement made, people who want to be representative leader will say, okay, I'll give you chairs, I'll give you this. But most people, responsible people, will not wait, I repeat, will not wait for elections to identify with the people. Sometimes, Titi, you don't have money, but you can write proposals that other people can assist. But people, they won't want to do that. I give you example of the president. The president had no ambition of becoming president when he had the highest number of scholarship students at the University of Liberia. It was not election period when he started paying WAS fee from the capital. So, I mean, we wait for some events or some activities to show up. So like you said, we should be able to come up within our own place, do the little things we can do. Government will come to buttress our effort. I think that from that perspective, we should be able to look at things. So basically, yes, if you listen to the president well, he spoke well and he was very clear. Firstly, he said in most of the counties he went, if not all, that those requests being made, they are not big requests that are being made. Either because most of them have already been factored into his plan, they are already been approved, awaiting some procurement procedure, or they are at an advanced stage. So they were not something strange that he didn't have in mind, because his primary focus was rural. So like if you want us to do it county by county, we're going to start with bombing.
Yeah, let's start with bombing.
Where he went. The president had, in total, 6 town hall meetings in bombing alone. Right? Traveling on the bar roads. To some point, he started cracking joke with what could be done to have some roads fixed. Okay, so he looking at why should people drive from Morrieville, go to Tottenham before going to Bopolu. So he talking about the road through Jatoro town from Brovisto all the way inside. That road needs to be paved, and they are working on it for it to be paved. Because when that road is paved,
no need to go to bombing before.
No, you're not going to bombing.
That's the shortest route.
It will take you less than an hour from Bopolu to reach to Brovisto. Once that road is paved, it's very short. Besides that, people will have free movement. They will move easily. If they have any produce to bring to town, they can easily bring it there. That the constraint, the difficulties they encounter, car breaking down in the middle of nowhere, and your security is at risk. You will not have that. This is why you always dream, what? Row. Then you talk about schools. Some areas people have to leave from where they are to go to Bopolu because that's the only place they can find a high school. But they have students there. They have people of school going age. This is why you will notice that the school going, people at the university now, or at commercial school, or in the senior high school now, if you want to compare their ages to those in the rural area, there's a little gap. Because you cannot take your child to send them to Greenville, for example, from Panama, from Bokongire, from Vubadi, when the child is just 3-4 years, to go to Greenville to stay with who? No. That child will reach maybe like 10 years. They want to take that child, him or her, to Greenville to be able to go to school or nearby area. So you find that a kid.
So the gap is so.
It's so wide. Now you can find somebody 17 years almost graduating from high school in Morrieville. There, it's kind of difficult. 25 and beyond. 30. You see? So, there's a need for people to look at the schools. Now, the president went to Tuckman at the town hall meeting. People were talking about upgrading the college here. They were trying to build like 4 classrooms to add to what they already have. The president said, you talk about university, the community college here, and you talking about 4 extra classes to be added. The president said, no. We'll be joking. The next time I come, you ask for another 4 rooms. So why don't we upgrade it to additional 50 classrooms or raise it to 50 classrooms?
So you're asking for 4, I gave you 50.
I gave you 50. That's the visionary leader you have. He talked about doing the fee they have there in Tottenham, the CSU high school fee, making it to a gold project, planting carpet. And he said he's going to work along with the FA and FIFA to make sure that is done. He played there before. Okay? Don't ask me whether you're living in Tottenham, but people used to come for players all over to go and showcase their talents. So he played there before. He talked about doing the basketball court. He visited a hospital. People started talking about what? Well, yeah, most of the nurses you have, the places, they are not decent places to live. So most people do not want to take up what? Employment there. So what he decided to do, in working with our health partners and what's everything, I'm going to do 20 hostel units for the nurses. So once you have that quad, decent place to live, it will attract people to leave this congested Monrovia to be able to go there and serve the people. So you are not just trying to see whether the theater is functional, but you try to encourage, and promote the health and security of those who are going to be able to perform the surgery and whatsoever. So these are the things the president is dreaming on a daily basis. Now, another challenge I was throwing at them, he said that people should be innovative. The hospitality sector, when we talk about tourism, you cannot have a booming industry if you do not have the facilities. I know the way you came from, and there were the hulu balu about no infrastructure. Yes, yeah. If you want this place to be a tourist center, you need to have facility for people to stay. I bet if we have structures in place, let me just leave Western Liberia a little bit. In Sasta, in Picnices, in Grances, where you have ideal tourist site. I'm not talking about Mason Kelgbeh. I'm talking about the island in the middle of nowhere, in Sastown, where you can even use helicopter to get there, you can use boat to get there, right? And you have an island in the middle of the sea, where you have water, but it's not salty.
Who doesn't want to go and see that?
Everybody wants to go and see. But if those people come, you take them to Sastown, where are they going to sleep? Nowhere. How do you sell it? People troop in the numbers. Yeah. So if you have these roads and these things into place,
roads, infrastructure.
Don't get me wrong, and don't get the president wrong whenever he said, well, what I've achieved in 3 years, no leader have achieved it in 3 years period. And that's it. So what I mean, what he's trying to say, out of the presidents we have, if every year they were just doing 10 kilometers of road, by this time at 173 plus, we will not be talking about roads. The leader we have will use it for other things. Right? Mm-hmm. The president, he travels. So now he goes to visit his friends, they take him to military hospital. He saw, he said, well, I can still do the same. We have soldiers in Malay. What happens if they are injured? We take them to what? Ghana military base hospital. We take them to Tamale. We take them to Morocco. So why don't we do something small? That's how he started with the military hospital. And that hospital became what? Like a haven for us during the pandemic. So like you said.
And the First Lady also, not to, before we leave Burming, she visited the Blue Lake, and even I listened to her on the radio that morning when she was asked on Radio Burming, and she was talking about the plans she has also for the Blue Lake. That is a very beautiful site, and I thought she has wonderful plans for that place.
Well, look, the First Lady, sometimes you see what she do is like a God sent. See the work she's doing in Grand Bassa County, Buchanan. Sees what she's doing in Magibi, in parts of Moserado. And if she has the means to go everywhere in Liberia, she's going to do something to improve the lives of not just the children, not the vulnerable women, but for the well-being of Liberia. And what she's looking for, she wants to transform that place and make it a decent place. And that can only be done if our people are willing to work along. Because when you talk about governance, it's not just individual. Because whatever she wants to do or the government decides to do, people of Burma need to take ownership. Once they can work along, this is what the president says. If you talk about improving the hospitality sector, which is tourism sector, Liberia needs to come on board. And by coming on board, there are several things you can do. Okay? So, if that era is transformed from what the First Lady intend to do, those that are going to benefit will not just be only people from Bomi County, but other people in Liberia will be able to go there, and will attract people, and that's how things improve. I'm not saying like what I saw in Kelgbeh. I'm not happy, but it gives you an idea. Like when people are around, then you have the competition, and when you have higher demand and less supply, more money is there. Like when we went to the World Bank project, the storage for fishery,
Okay.
people who went there, people were selling fish above the normal price.
I
But
think
even if they don't have,
was going there.
yes, even if they don't have to sell the fish above the normal price. But if you have more people trooping there on a regular basis, because if that road is paved from
Medina to
Rawasport
Sport.
to Medina, it was less than it would be less than an hour drive. People can go on a
So you
regular
can run
basis
from Monrovia on the weekend and just go and buy your fish
and buy your fish
in Grand Cape Mountain County.
and come
Fresh
back
fish from the sea.
fresh.
And with that storage facility over there, I think it will just be superb.
I mean, it will be able to what be maximized. You know, I mean, you get your satisfaction
The
from what you
facility
do.
is already there. It's already up and running.
Running, all
Yeah.
you have to do, just give two
Every
people a
time you
role.
have fresh fish when you go
Just
to
give them a role, and the person is committed to doing that.
to doing that road.
He will make sure the other rules he talk about, they are going to do them. Like
I saw the excitement. Since I think we have left Bomi now, we've gone to Cape Mount already without going to Bapolo. But anyway, that's good. In Kinjo.
but King Joe Road will be one of the first to be done. The president have asked them to do the road. They are doing the road. It's not going to the burden will not be on Ministry of Public Works, although the police supervisory road. But the BA Mountain company is going to do that. They have their own equipment, and the president has mandated them. You are not just doing the road from the main road to your headquarters, but do it within the city, and they have consented to doing that. People there, they don't have better high school facility. He programmed for the construction of high school that is going to take place soon. And I mean,
so you get that the president not only the road from the main road straight up to B Mountain, but then even in the community, the president has mandated them to make sure that they do the roads because and from where I sit, I heard the president even say in Kinjo that with the lights that they have, the company has put here, I'm still going to put additional lights here.
Yeah, because lighting up Monrovia, the president said, or went to the southeast and even to western Liberia, that the best way people will feed this government is to decentralize the resources of the country.
Absolutely.
It should not just be the face of the country, which is Monrovia, the capital, but other areas. Because Sino, from where I come from, Ruroji, from other people come from, Lofa, we all make up Liberia. So even if 10% of what happened in Monrovia can be replicated in those counties, you will see a little change and people will be moved. So with the lightning, you improve security. And this is why before we left Cape Mount, they were already planting the street lights there.
And I was going to say some of the lights were even on before we even left Cape Mount.
Yes, and the journalist Jenkins Mabandi, who interviewed the president, has promised the president that he will lead the campaign in terms of publicizing it when the street lights come on. So people get to know what is happening. The president don't only want it to be in Rawasport or other areas. Okay? So it's not just about light. We talk about school, we talk about health facilities, we talk about women and youth centers.
Technical
Center
for the young people
in Grand Cape Mountain County. Like in Bapolo. Okay? They don't have a certain one vocational school. Although they are blessed to get a 100-bedroom hospital, which is under construction.
And a super project.
The financier of that program from UAE, they have made a commitment. They have promised the president that that project will be completed in 14 months. And I don't know whether you went on the site. You saw the massive work being done there.
Sure.
Every day the containers are coming, they're bringing everything from scratch. So basically...
So let me hold you there. I'm not sure. Okay, go ahead. I I see a call coming in from the Minister of Internal Affairs. I don't know whether he wants to talk on the show.
Yeah, basically, I think the Minister of Internal Affairs, if he comes in, it will be a very great idea because he's one of the architects or chief organizers of the entire candidature by the president. They have been doing extremely well, and they have been engaging our people directly in terms of the leadership. So what I'm saying, in essence, there are a lot happening. Even the streets of Bopolu in the city, the paving has started. They are using the double ceiling chips to do that, which will be a very good program for the people of Bopolu. So every county, according to the president, will have a share of development for Liberia because they all are part. They all are part of this country, and they need to enjoy the benefits of the development package the president has.
Oh, he's gone off again. So, yeah, I had the Minister of Internal Affairs on the line, but then he's gone off again. If he calls back, we're gonna take him. But there's a lot that has happened. Okay, we have him back on the line. Minister Sirleaf, good morning and welcome. in Bopolu itself, and then Kinja also, because Kinja will have lights in addition to the lights that the B Mountain company has there. The president has also said, I'm going to bring, brighter lights for the people here. That's just, on the spot interventions from His Excellency in all of the counties where he went. The number to call is 0778-641-549, and you'll be live on the Super Morning Show. So the president did not hide his feelings. Whether we like it or not, he said it, and it's something that we must talk about when it comes to infrastructure, place for people to sleep in those counties. Morning. Okay, better. Morning.
Specific to counties in the Western Cluster, no. The president is concerned about every county lacking development within the country. And I remember at one point in time, he was discussing with the Minister of Finance on December 12th, with that of Minister McGill, Public Works, and other entities within the government. And that there's a need to work along with the national legislature to see whether they can make an allotment in the budget where in every county will have a presidential palace.
Okay.
Even if this year or next year when it is enacted, we'll go to 3 counties, we pay. The next time you go to another 3 counties, you pay. Gradually, with space of time, you will have that infrastructure in those counties.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Because if you, what you were saying, say, Magi, 12 people around here, and you made reference to some of the lawmakers that were around. Let's assume I'm in Grand Jury, and one of my colleagues has to come for urgent discussion. Do I leave to come back to Monrovia? I can just have the person flown over. We sit there, have the discussions. Because in other countries, everywhere you go, we call our own country. Some people, the federal state, federal government, they have states. They have those facilities in place where you can host another VIPs from anywhere.
In the world.
But for Liberia, no.
The
president was in on the first leg of his tour. The president for FIFA Infantino was scheduled to come to meet him. But the information, because got to the president late of the travel, because the arrangement from FIFA was not made earlier.
Okay.
So the president was already
in
outside Monrovia. He couldn't go.
Oh my God.
And the president could not abandon his people to come to Monrovia.
Oh my God.
But if we have the type of
infrastructure,
good,
that man could just be the team who could have been airlifted to wherever the president was, and then they have the discussion.
Sometimes the president sits, Titi, and you hear him say, if I had this, this is what I'm going to do for my people. You're going to make some people look at Miami. It will not be exactly the replica, but I mean, you have the facility in place.
Okay.
Whether they are not of the same standard, but they will be able to do the same thing they can do. You see? So basically, like you said.
Let me see. I see the superintendent of Sino County calling me. Superintendent Lee Namwiche, welcome to the Super Morning Show.
Well, good morning to me. Let me say good morning to my listeners in Radio Land.
Okay.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Do you want to make your input? You
from beginning to the end. There's no place for argument. You are God all by yourself. You are God from beginning to the end. There's no place for argument. You are God all by yourself. Ooh. Oh yeah. You've got times and seasons in your hands. You called for light out of darkness. You don't need a man to be the God you are, but you have chosen to call me your own. Oh, you are from beginning to the end. There's no place for argument. Oh, you are God all by yourself. You are God from beginning to the end. There's no place for argument. You are God all by yourself.
You've got times and seasons in your hands.
Oh,
You called for light out of darkness. You don't need a man to be the God
you need no other man.
but in your mercy.
In your mercy.
Hold on to your own. You are God from beginning to the end. Hallelujah. There's no place for argument.
Oh, you are God all by yourself.
Jesus, you are God.
You are God.
You're the El Shaddai. You're the Elohim. You're the Alpha and Omega. For argument, you are God all by yourself. You are God. Beginning to the end. Death could not hold you in the grave. You are God all by yourself. Jehovah Shammah, Jehovah Nissi.
Good morning, a pleasant warm welcome to LNTV News Live, 30 minutes of all the news from Liberia and elsewhere. My name is Maxwell Johnson, presenting on today, Monday, March 29, 2021. In our top stories, President George Weah ends tour of the Western region with a commitment to undertake several development projects in counties of the region. A nationwide vaccination campaign gets underway to vaccinate about 1 million children against polio. Margibi County Superintendent Jerry Vanney says all is set for the president's tour of his county. And away from home, officials say the stern of a huge container ship that has been wedged across the Suez Canal for almost a week has been free from the shorelines. These story plus more local development coming up on this edition of LNTV News Live. We're taking a quick break and we'll come back. We'll bring you the rest of the stories. Welcome back to LNTV News Live. To this story now, President George Weah has ended his tour of the Western region with a commitment to undertake several development projects in those counties. President Weah's second leg tour took him to Bomi, Bapulu, and Grand Cape counties, where he interacted with citizens. In Bomi County, the Liberian leader committed to constructing Health and Women's Center in 3rd District and upgrading the county's community college, while the president lit their street of Tottenham. In Bapulu County, President Weah committed to education and infrastructure projects, including electricity. In Grand Cape County, the president assured the paving of the road corridor between Medina and Roberts Post.
Through the Ministry of Education, all your school year will be renovated. As I said, the Robertson Road is your part, and we're going to do it so you can continue. I know the person I spoke gave her 10 different roads. So your 10 assets, let's start from the main one, the main street. All can access the Roberts Road to how far is it? The Roberts Road. The Roberts Road. That's the main road that all use. So we're going to fix that. Then after we fix that, then while going forward, we will fix the rest of the road that needed. We secure 16 million United States dollars for private sector farming. And those that need agriculture, you can access some of the platform to do your farm. And to the rural women, as I said, we're doing our best to make sure that every year you have $2 billion United States dollars to do your business.
Meanwhile, President Weah is expected to later tour Lofa, Grand Bassa, Margibi, Sino, and Rosas counties to conclude the first county tour of his administration. The Ministry of Health has launched a vaccination campaign to protect children against the crippling polio virus. The novel polio virus will be administered to children under 5 years of age, and the campaign will run for 5 days across the country. Launching the polio vaccination campaign in Cinco on Friday, Health Minister Dr. Wilhelmina Njala urged parents to ensure their children are vaccinated.
I'm not a known speech giver, but I just want all of us to know, especially the parents, that this vaccine will save lives, it will prevent disability, and it will prevent our children from dying. Dr. Moetti said it right. She said we must stay vigilant and keep up vaccination rates to avert any reassertion of the wild polio virus. And we must continue to address and continue to fight all of the threats that affect our children. Today is a special day for the children. Children have short span, so we can't make things too long for them. But we added the birth registration to this piece because it's important that all of our children have a birth certificate. We don't want you to be 79 years old and you're looking for your birth certificate. So we want them to have it now. Because it's important that the future of school will only register children if they have a birth certificate and a vaccination card. So when we go to that, we want to make sure that all of the almost 1 million children that we are going to be registering have their birth registration as well as the novel poliovirus 2 vaccine. And so all of the parents out there, this is a door-to-door campaign.
She's Health Minister Dr. Wilhelmina Jala. During the launch, UNICEF representative Leila Gad reiterated that the vaccine is safe and free.
And it's easy. 2 drops of the vaccine save a child. They save a child from the effects of crippling, the possibility of being crippled, and in some cases death. So the vaccine works, and we're delighted that we're starting this campaign in all of the counties of Liberia today. I also would like to congratulate the vision of the Minister of Health in conducting an integrated polio and birth registration campaign, because we know that we also miss out, some of the children miss out on birth registration. And therefore, as we are conducting the polio campaign, it is being integrated with birth registration. Again, it's a source of pride to be part of this moment in Liberia's history, and we congratulate the leadership, the Minister of Health, and we look forward to work with you over the next days to see how the vaccine is, the campaign is rolling.
The president of the Liberia National Bar Association says the fundamental contract of lawyer is to adhere to the rule of law. Councillor Tiawon Gongo said upholding every provision of the Code of Professional Ethics and Morals is pivotal for the legal profession. He said anything contrary to the upholding of legal ethics will undermine the rule of law in the country. Councillor Gongo made the remarks Friday at the start of a 2-day National Assembly of the Liberian National Bar Association in Benton, Monserrado County. The assembly has been held under the theme of holding the fraternity of the legal profession in promoting adherence to the rule of law. Margibi County Superintendent Jerry Varney says the county is prepared to receive the president on his county tour. Superintendent Varney disclosed that as a way of buttressing government development agenda, series of developmental activities are expected to be dedicated by President Weah during his visit.
We don't want to blow our own trumpet, but following the track record of Margibi administration since we took over, we embarked on 23 projects. Out of 23 projects, 19 finished, 3 have been dedicated. Many of them are awaiting the president arrival in Margibi to be dedicated, and the rest are ongoing, nearing completion. So to let you know, Margibi, after the Une County will be one of those counties that will keep the president very busy in dedicating project, because we are not been sleeping since we took over. Now the little amount that was being given through the government of Liberia for the China Ministry Development Fund, we thought it was to have it utilized in the interest of our people. We were able to construct, meaning to say, we help with the young guys that stood by me. Alright? But he told it why, being very generous, he said, the young men and women stood by me. 2 years unbroken years, we struggle. So let me get a try. So my message to my young colleagues in government, even to the old folks, the president make us proud by selecting us to work with the government, to work with him and to work with the Liberian people. He did not select us to be lukewarm administrators for our counties of our entity. But the president is someone that full of development. We should be able to question this president in general, and that's why I'm doing my country. So I saw all leaders of policy. The president should be proud of us. He should not regret appointing us into the administration, and the poor Liberia should be proud of us. Going Margibi, my people are proud of me because of the Lord what we are doing.
Jerry Varney is the superintendent of Margibi County. Indeed, if you just joined us, a reminder that you're watching LNTV News Live 30 minutes of news from Liberia and elsewhere. My name is Maxwell Johnson. In our top stories, President George Weah ends toward the Western region with a commitment to undertake several development projects in counties of the region. A nationwide vaccination campaign is underway to vaccinate about 1 million children against polio. Margibi County Superintendent Jerry Vani says all is now set for the president's tour of his county. And away from home, officials say the stern of a huge container ship that has been wedged across the Suez Canal for almost a week has been free from the shoreline. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll continue the news. Welcome back. Foreign Minister Maxwell Kimia has announced the resumption of the provision of legal services at the ministry following the discovery of fraud in the system. Addressing a press conference Thursday, Minister Kimia said a moratorium remains on issuance of laissez-passer, noting that only emergency cases will be considered.
Effective Friday, March 26, 2021, the services in relation to obtaining corporate jackets, apostees, and laissez-passer, those services will resume effective Friday, March 26, 2021. However, I'd like to reiterate that for laissez-passer, the moratorium remains in effect unless for emergency cases and where there is application, such application will be reviewed, or applications will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and where necessary or appropriate, be authorized by the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister Kimia said following the discovery of the syndicate of payments of such services will now be done directly at the LRA.
All of the fees just being announced will not be paid at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They will neither be paid to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Instead, these fees will be paid to any LRA booth. In essence, or simply saying, the payments will be made to the government of Liberia's account. You will obtain a flag receipt, and that flag receipt, you will proceed with that flag receipt to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You will then be able to show your flag receipt, and based on authentication or validity, you will then be rendered the services.
His Foreign Affairs Minister D. Maxwell came here. Liberia National Police Chief of Community Services Samuel Ford is urging citizens to stop labeling the police as partisan police and call on the public to strengthen their confidence in the police. He spoke Friday at the end of a 2-day post-elections lessons learned dialogue in Monrovia.
The issue of Kennedy being allowed the police officer, that thing will be arranged at the stage of the Liberia National Police. The LLP Inspector General made a lot of press conferences with that. Now under that, with agreement with the political party candidates. So with that aspect, and also the allegation of police being labeled as partisan police. This is an old age thing. I have been in the police for quite 60 years. You know, with the kind of experience I have from the down to the up. You know, I've got you to understand that if a regime take over, you know, they're going to call you, last year they were calling you LA police, you know, and now again they are calling you CDC police. So, you know, this kind of label is something that the people themselves try to do. That is a phenomenon that has been carried out in every regime change. They label the Liberia National Police as partisan police, but we are not partisan police. The same police that were yesterday there, it is the same old police officer that is still within the Liberia National Police is controlling this electionary period. And also, the issue of constraint and budget. You know, every time the police is like, they are put in a scenario like when they say a woman is about to give birth, the woman pregnant, and then it's something very difficult. And they call you, man, Samuel, the woman just gave birth. You know, the next thing now is you don't have the even money to be able to gather other things for the baby and to even release the woman from the hospital. That's the kind of stage the LNP sometimes we are in.
His Liberia National Police Chief of Community Services, Samuel Ford. Also speaking, LNP Head of Operation and Planning Unit, Chief Superintendent T. Max Brown, outlined challenges the police face during elections in Liberia.
The mission of the Liberia National Police was to coordinate a security plan aimed at creating an enabling security environment for peaceful conduct of special senatorial election and national referendum while protecting the people of Liberia and foreign citizens. These are the very objectives: to prevent all forms of violence against candidate, political party, establishing a person during and after the process of the election, to prevent attack on election workers and all present at voting center, to prevent theft and looting of election facility and material, to regulate traffic during political rally and voting days, to investigate all crime and disorderly acts and apprehend.
For his part, Peace Building Office Executive Director Edward Moba called on opposition political parties to bring forth problems affecting them during elections when called upon.
My decision was triggered as a result of my personal conviction and belief, and also with the support and the cry.
It seems to be that we can get that excerpt from Edward Ford. We'll go to the next story. A call has been made for Liberians to rally their support for the development of the country. The comment was made Friday by Riwaji County District 1 Representative Alexander Paul during his first media briefing weeks after resigning from the opposition All Liberian Party for the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change. Since that excerpt 2 is not ready, the Executive Director of Sisters Hand Liberia, Mianta Gray, has strongly condemned rape and every form of sexual and gender-based violence against women and girls, and Gray warns perpetrators of violence against girls, especially babies, to be brought to justice. She spoke recently in Monrovia.
So rape, when I started working in the county, we're getting 5 report rape cases from the county.
Today we somewhere we will get there, but there's no excuse for it. What a child is making. There's no manner of dress code can make anybody that was in my father's house that was naked, I was not swim and nobody touched me. Why now? So there's no excuse for that. Whether somebody or 9 years old or 8 years old, is she naked? No. So we should condemn this thing in a stronger term and perpetrators should be brought to justice. We are doing that in Cape Town, creating vigorous awareness on rape. Perpetrators belong in jail. Whether it's your father, your grandfather, your uncle, your nephew, rapists belong to jail and maximum prison. So we say no to it. Sister here, we stand to say no to every violence against women and children. It's not the atmosphere for it. This is in 21st century. We can't have women being abused or babies being raped. It's a huge rate of child molestation in the country right now. Child sodomy. Where they coming from? We say no to that. And I'm going to fight against that evil until the last of my blood. Thank you.
She's the Executive Director of Sisters Hand Liberia Miata Gray. And back to this story now from Riwaji County. A call has been made for Liberians to rally their support for the development of the country. The comment was made Friday by Riwaji County District 1 Representative Alexander Paul during his first media briefing weeks after resigning from the opposition All-Liberian Party for the ruling coalition for democratic change.
My decision was triggered as a result of my personal conviction and belief, and also with the support and the cry and the call from my people that I represent.
When you say the call by your people, what do you mean?
My people that I represent, as you may be aware, that the executive, precisely the appointees of the executive serve at the will and pleasure of the president. So I, as a legislator, am of no different. I also serve at the will and pleasure of the people that I represent. So I am saying this to mean that my people, I petitioned me and they called upon me to join the party. And besides that, I said, based upon my personal conviction, I believe that it is necessary that I bring my energy, my expertise, and all of my experience on board, in as much as this government is comprised of 3 branches of government, and I form part of one of the branches of the government. So I feel that it is necessary, it is important that I bring my energies, I bring my experience, I bring my expertise on board to help the government to succeed.
He's Representative Alexander Poor of Riwaji County Electoral District 1. And briefly on the home front now, the stern of a huge container ship that has been wedged across the Suez Canal for almost a week has been freed from the shoreline, officials say. According to the Suez Canal Authority, the course of the 400-meter-long Ever Given has been corrected by 80%. It added that further efforts to move the boat will resume later today. But the head of a company involved in the rescue efforts urged caution, warning that completing the operation would not be a piece of cake. The Ever Given has been blocking one of the world's busiest trade routes, forcing companies to reroute ships and causing long tailbacks of hundreds of vessels. The reports that the ship had been partially freed raised hopes that traffic along the canal could resume within hours, clearing the way for an estimated 9.6 billion of goods being held up each day. And the trial of Derek Chauvin, the white American policeman accused of killing George Floyd in May last year, is due to begin later today. Mr. Chauvin was recorded by passerby in the city of Minneapolis, kneeling on the knees of Mr. Floyd, who was black, for more than 9 minutes. The incident sparked protests in the U.S. and across the world against police brutality and racism. Mr. Chauvin, 45, is one of 4 officers involved to stand trial. He is facing the most serious charges of the 4, including second-degree murder, which carries a sentence of up to 40 years in prison. Mr. Cavan, who was fired from the police, has pleaded not guilty. Well, on that foreign note, that's how we come to the end of this edition of LNTV News Live. Before we go, the recap of stories that made headline this morning. President George Weah ends tour of the Western region with a commitment to undertake several development projects in counties of the region. A nationwide vaccination campaign is underway to vaccinate about 1 million children against polio. Margibi County Superintendent Jerry Vanney says all is now set for the president tour of his county. And away from home, officials said the stern of a huge container ship that has been wedged across the Suez Canal for almost a week has been free from the shoreline. Thank you so much for viewing. Thanks to our editors and reporters for making this edition a success. Join our update at 12, 2, and 4. Better stay join us tonight for a fresh edition of LNTV News Live. On behalf of the entire news team, I've been your presenter, Maxwell Johnson. Have a very good day from Painesville.